This is the Preach Jacobs podcast. 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of the Preach Jacobs podcast. I'm your host, Preach Jacobs. Thank you guys for listening. Once again, thank you guys for supporting us at our gallery at the Koger Center for the Arts. Our next SoulHAUS Sessions is going to be October the 22nd. It's going to be a Koger reunion. We're going to have hip-hop artist Jay Live on the panel. We're going to have Dre Lopez. We're going to have Ebony Toussaint of Aurora Comics podcast. And we're also going to have Steven Prouse, comic book writer as well, all involved with the opening of a show that we're going to have, a Koger anniversary show with artwork from the amazing Dan Lish from London, and amazing pieces. Also on top of that, we got some Sanford Green stuff and a surprise that we're going to announce at that show. So please make sure y'all get y'all's tickets. Go to KogerCenterForTheArts.com or go to all my socials, Preach Jacobs, to get all that stuff squared away. Thank you guys so much. We also sponsored by Big Media. Thank you guys for putting this out. We're also sponsored by Koger Center for the Arts and SoulHAUS, and our favorite sponsor, Tussy. Ooh. Anyways, I'm excited because the great thing about having this type of a podcast is to be able to talk to folks that I haven't seen in a while, so I have an excuse to catch up with folks, and also people that are near and dear to me, and I hope the people hearing about him for the first time make people want to get involved and check out more of his work. We have my guest, hip-hop legend from producer legend from Columbia, South Carolina, via Hopkins, MIDIMarc. What's going on, man?
Man, I'm chilling. You coming in hot. Ooh.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for stopping by, man. So for the people that are unaware, MIDI, it's been about 20 years that I've known that you've been making beats. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay. So about 2 decades of really, really great hip hop production. Some of your favorite local music. He was the beat maker behind this, the producer behind this. I want to get into that in a bit, but I also think that we can start this off with something that you said that I think would be really, really interesting. Shout out to our video aide right now, Taki, who's going to have a podcast coming soon. You were talking about being Southern, not country. To folks that don't understand the distinction, what does that mean to you when someone says you country or somebody says you Southern? What does that mean?
Well, okay, so born and raised in the South, but the South isn't all country. Country is a whole different experience, usually involving, living a little bit closer to the land, on the land, off the land, the hunting, the fishing, or, just raising animals, that's a little bit more of what I would consider, like closer to country. The area of Hopkins that I grew up in, when we first moved there, it was definitely, look way more rural than it is now, a lot of new neighborhoods and everything. But the original part of Hopkins, basically to the right of Garner's Ferry, people had more land. There were more, farmland, well water, things like that, so even though, born and raised in the South and, like I mentioned earlier, a little bit more country adjacent.
Yeah, diet country.
Diet country. There you go.
Country zero. Yeah.
So I used to, like be with my cousins in like Goldsboro, North Carolina, or even my family in Sardis, Mississippi, Aberdeen, Mississippi, and like especially like Sardis, Mississippi. That's actual, family farmland or whatever. Like that's country. I'm visiting. I'm doing foolish stuff like showing up to a farm wearing new sneakers, and that's my only pair of shoes, you know what I mean? So by the time I'm coming back to South Carolina, like they're just ruined, muddy, dusty,
absolutely, and
everything. Country folks know better. That was all I needed to know. Was like, okay, yeah, this ain't quite the same.
Well, you know what? I think this is an interesting conversation, right? And I'm interested to see what you think about this. It's pretty much a 30-year anniversary. If you think about how crazy this is, it's a 30-year anniversary of when Outkast was at the Source Awards. They won, I think, Best Hip Hop Group. They got on stage and were getting booed.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Outkast, Andre 3000, one of the greatest MCs of all time, getting booed. And that's when the impassioned speech that Andre was like, yo, man, the South got something to say. I got that demo tape. Nobody want to hear it. The South got something to say. something that simple feels so revolutionary. And I think that I grew up in a situation where I had low, I say I had low location self-esteem, right? Where when I was a kid, everybody pretended like they was from New York. Right,
I
know
remember
what I mean?
that.
You know, because the music that we grew up on, the Wu-Tangs of the world, you know, the Tribes and all this type of stuff, there wasn't this respect, even in the South, some degree of people respecting Southern hip hop or Southern hip hop being taken seriously. And and as I got older, you start to learn like the beauty of the 8-Ball, the MJGs, the Scarfaces, the Outkast, the Goody Mobs, and things like that. When I hear those conversations of people talking about, oh, you know, then the South took over in the early 2000s, I'm like, no, that didn't happen. The South has been making hip hop music, been having like amazing producers and musicianship and things like that.
Right, right.
Do you still feel that even in this day and time, even with the respects of people that are from the South doing hip hop, do you still feel, and I'm not sure if you saw this, what's that list from that, the Pitchfork list, do you still feel that as a whole, there's not a respect for Southern hip hop the way it should be?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that there's a respect that isn't there. But it's so strong in its influence and just existence that the respect almost doesn't matter. You know, so it's like when Enter the 36 Chambers came out, and I'm listening to all these beats produced by the RZA, and then, you know, I get older and I find out that the majority of the music that he's sampling is from Stax Records out of Memphis, and these are Memphis people. These are Southerners, you know, making this music that's being sampled, you know, or even from like the James Brown, Isaac Hayes, you know. So it's like the lack of respect is kind of tied into just ignorance. You know what I mean? Like if James Brown is this influential to this entire art form, if you know, go down the list of people, you know, who have been like just so sampled and just so instrumental in just the development of the sound of hip hop globally, then it's the South.
Absolutely. Have you seen that Stax documentary yet?
Actually watched it the other day. It's one of my favorite. Yeah, yeah.
Over and over again. So sometimes when it's hard for me to go to sleep, I'll put something on and I would just like pick an episode and go through it. And it was interesting that I could see these parallels with hip hop in a certain way, right? Where there was a conversation about how Stax got fleeced by Atlantic Records and snatched the whole catalog, and then Isaac Hayes comes out of that. But there was also this conversation that they touched on slightly, but I think it's interesting, where they were like, yo, man, we're the Southern label out of Memphis with this sound. And then you have another black label like Motown that was kind of considered the it black music, right? It was this thing where, you know, they kind of talked about how, you know, let's be honest, man, you look at some of that early Motown stuff, everybody had processed hair, everybody was wearing some suits, and it was a way of, hey, man, we want to be presentable, that crossover word to white America. And Stax in a way was revolutionary in that sense, where they were just like, look, we're making a sound for people that really, really rock with this, that really get it. You know what I mean? And I think that those conversations are always happening. It's like, yo, man, the soul of all the music that you're looking for is from the South. So I would ask, because I remember the first tape I ever got as a kid. And not tapes that people like gave you copies and stuff of. But what was the first thing with your money that you remember hip hop wise? You don't even have to be hip hop. You can tell me the first tape you got, first CD you got that you can remember, and then first hip hop joint, if it wasn't a hip hop joint. Some old man stuff. Like we got to think back.
So I think the first hip hop that I purchased with my own money was actually a cassette, and it was a bootleg cassette of Dr. Dre's The Chronic. Okay. And I had to sneak and get it, you know, and I think it was at one of those, you know, it might have been it might have been Harambe, it might have been Jubilee Festival or something like that. There's always, you know, a man selling the chew sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Why was I on them chewing up things like I was 12 years old trying to be cool, man?
Yo, I had to get me a chew stick, and I had to like sneak around, like look left and right, because I'm not supposed to have this music, you know. But they were only $5, and you know, I was young, I was broke. I had $5 though, and so yeah, I had money for my chew stick. And then, you know, look left, look right, make sure my mom was distracted. You know what I mean? And I went and bought that chronic bootleg.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So I bought. This wasn't the first album that I got, but my Ready to Die copy. I paid $4 for it. It was on CD, and it didn't have a cover on it, so it was just a CD. And this guy was like at the flea market, right? And so same thing. I think similar with you. Somehow we would go to record stores and somebody said to my dad, the parental advisory sticker. He was like, well, I ain't buying that if the sticker's on it, right?
Lord have mercy.
And funny enough, I don't know if this is true or not. That shit might have been Joey Joe. That's how old he is. 'Cause I think I was like 6 years old and Joey Joe told my daddy about the sticker, right? But so the first tape that I remember that my dad got us, my brother and I, this is like 1990, 91, that we went into Sounds Familiar record store. And he had this no sticker thing. My brother got Home Base by DJ Jazzy Jeff Fresh Prince that had Summertime on it.
Wow.
And I got, because there was no sticker on it, and I remember hearing their names, I got Gangstar Step in the Arena. That was the first tape that my dad went and got us in the store. And then I had like a cousin that would just send us stuff of stuff from radio stations when he would be in New York and stuff like that. But I remember that Gangstar as like the first tape. And shout out to the people that if you had to have a sticker on it, they made the sticker really small. The people that made the sticker like, bam! Those are the people that were really, really hating on the younger people listening to their music.
I got to give a shout out to the Columbia record, the CD clubs or whatever, because their parental advisory, like they were stickers.
Snatch it off.
That you could snatch off, you know. So if you intercepted the mail, if you were able to like, hey, can I get this one? You know. And which is how I got Ready to Die.
Ooh, yeah.
And I intercepted the mail and had to ask permission. I was like, Mom, can I open this? Probably my CD. And she said, yeah, her CD was in there also. She probably had some Boz Scaggs.
Hey, so, low key, that's jamming.
Hey, I'm not hating. I love, you know, I'm a fan of Boz because of her. But you know, I got my CD. Made sure to peel that sticker off or whatever. She's gonna want to look at it, whatever, you know. Oh, and the baby on the cover, that had to, you know, add it to, you know, the parental comfort. Like, it can't be that bad.
It's
There's a baby on the cover. He listening to wholesome, rippity rap music with a baby on the cover. My son's so wholesome and sweet. And you know, Suicidal Thoughts,
Listen.
One More Chance, the album version.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah.
I got a question for you because I just wrote about this because September it was Suicide Prevention Month, and I wrote something about suicide prevention about my family because I had like an old country uncle, great uncle that nobody ever talked about, and I found out like recently he died by suicide. Not to get heavy with that, but I turned it over talking about depression and suicide related stuff in hip hop, and one of the things I thought was always weird to me. There'd be clubs that would have March 9th parties where you would go listen to Biggie's music. And I'm like, yo, why are we celebrating when Biggie died? And then I was just like, do I know Biggie's birthday?
I don't.
Right? I think it's May 21st, right? But it was such a thing where I thought about it. And I'm like, yo, man, this dude was 23 years old. The album was called Ready to Die. The last song was called Suicidal Thoughts. And we were dancing to it. It was like, what's the Crystal Water song? Da-da-dee-da-da.
Oh,
the whole
man.
song. She was like, she's homeless. And we like dancing to this homeless.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she could find it, right? But I always thought about it where it was just like, maybe that was the only way that he's like, I can talk about this, right? You know? And so it's really interesting, right? Where I think about the amount of hip hop I was listening to at such a young age. Here's what I think you would get a kick out of. So my mom had an agreement with me and my brother. She was like, look, I'll get y'all tapes with stickers on them. Just do good in school, and I don't want y'all saying this stuff. So there was one Christmas, my brother got a tape and I got a tape. And one day I let the boombox playing too long when I went outside. My mama heard the tape. Do you know the nastiest tape that my mama got that she was just like, what is this? The nastiest tape. I don't think you would guess who it was. Like said she. So you throws it away. I got MC Lights, Act Like You Know. And the tape had two sides, a tough side and a rough side. When I tell you that B side, because my mom was like, oh, MC Light, she's cute. Derek got a crush on her. Oh,
right.
Yo, she was cussing up a storm. My mom was like, is that the tape that I bought you? Right? Dog, you have no idea. She, like, if you find that album again, find it on the DSPs, and she was going in. MC Light was going in on a joint. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I got caught with Lil' Kim's Hardcore.
Listen, man, we all did.
I wish my mom was here so she can give like her, part two, her point of view of the story or whatever. But like it was one of the most awkward moments of my life. And like she got for those who don't know, my mom has very Claire Huxtable qualities, just, in the sense of like being able to like control the mood of the room with a finger wave, a glance, just her body language or whatever. And like, yeah, she saw that cover. Oh, boy. And then also me trying to be sneaky, because this was the same day that, I was like, oh, Mom, can we stop at Circuit City? Because I want to get the new Wyclef album. So that Wyclef was the
clean one, yeah.
But then, I also slid in that, let me get this Lil' Kim also whatever. But she saw that cover, and then she just like, I don't even remember her mouth moving, but I heard words coming out. She was, and she just like gave me detailed instructions on like step by step, like what to do. Like, hand me the CD. Then she opened it up. She looked at it. Like, there's just nothing good for a mother to see in front of her son or whatever. It's like, then things got interesting. She was like, put it in the CD player.
Oh, Lord.
The good stereo in the living room.
And if I'm not mistaken, that opening introduction.
So I knew enough to just go to track 2. Mm-hmm. But track 2 wasn't too much better because, like I used to be scared of now I throw, what I mean? So, yeah. So I got sent to my room, and then she got on the phone and called my dad, and I just, heard her out there, whatever. It's like, Corey, she called my dad Corey. Corey, this boy done bought this Lil' Kim CD up in here, and she make Minnie Riperton look like Mother Teresa.
Yo.
Confiscated. And my dad is funny. Like when I turned 18, I'm like 14, 13, maybe 14 when this all happens or whatever. So when I turned 18, like I come home from school, like there's a box on my bed, and it's like all of the things that have been confiscated from over the years. He had just kept all of them. That Lil' Kim CD was in there also, along with the Master P, the I'm 'Bout It, the movie on VHS.
Man. Oh my gosh! Listen, you know what? I would rather have the music confiscated than what other parents used to do, which was buy the Walmart version. Like a Nicholas rendition of Doggy Style. Yo. It's like I'd rather just not hear it at all if you're gonna take it all away.
I had friends on my street, brothers. They would come down and their parents would buy them anything as long as it was the Walmart version, and like they'd be so excited. They'd be like, "Oh, we got to do." They came down the street with it. We got ready to. No, not ready to die. We got Life After Death.
Just an instrumental.
And I would be in a good sport with listening to it and everything. And then Walmart had absolutely no shame, or they did no detailing with the edits. It was just they were just gonna reverse it, and it was like what's what.
The Exorcist. Now, here's the thing, though. After all of this, right, we turned out fine, right?
Did we?
I mean, I don't know. That's me and my therapist, but I say that, but I say that in the sense of, you know, it's every child's job. Because like if you're young and you want to rebel, you get in your 20s, you rebel against the system, you rebel against the government, you whatever. When you're a kid, you rebel against your parents, right?
Right.
So very rarely, you know, which is the exception that I see sometimes when I was working at a record store. Very rarely did you see like when older white folks come in with their kids and their kids are buying the stuff that their parents listen to. So like, when I first listened to the White Album by the Beatles, right? That's a very rare thing. But traditionally, kids are supposed to listen to the music that their parents didn't listen to or their parents don't like. So I think it was natural, right? So if I guess the way I'm saying it is, if you have a generation of people acting up, I don't think it was the music. What do you think it was? Or do you think it was the music?
I think, just the nature of being a kid and adolescent or whatever. And, after a while, you get tired of hearing your parents saying or alluding to them knowing what's best. And so part of that rebellion is, a little bit of it, I think, is, outside of, basic curiosity. Because even if your parents say, okay, this is going to happen if you do this or whatever, you want to see if they're right or see if they're wrong, and I think as soon as, music became popular, or just, I guess, the advancement of pop music, I think every generation had what they were listening to while they were going against the grain, with their parents. So I don't think it was like music is just one form of media. Like we were consuming all sorts of, media, even the video games, you know what I mean? Like that was something that was, talked about a lot.
Mortal Kombat was the most dangerous game ever. Now it just looks, I don't know. Well, I guess now, was there a surprise with your family, your parents, that when you started to get into beat making?
No, I don't think it wasn't a surprise. And before they knew what I was actually doing, just from across the room, it just looks like, oh, he's just listening to music, Both of my parents were, audiophiles, they had their collections there. And it is, both sides of the family, different types of, being into music or whatever, there's people, there's singers, there's musicians on both sides of the family, so that wasn't a surprise. I think the surprise was when they started hearing from like people in the community, saying, hey, I saw your son was doing this, he was in the newspaper or whatever. I think that was the surprise that, because, they don't really know hip hop like that, so if I'm, playing something for them, it's, oh, that's good, Mark. But they don't know if it's actually good. Like, where does it stand, when it leaves this house or whatever,
the context. When was the moment that you felt, because I guess this always comes from the artist conversation that I have, and especially, I think we had similar backgrounds, that both of my parents came from Eastover, both of my parents picked cotton,
Your parents from Eastover?
Yeah.
I did not. I was today years old.
Yeah, parents from Eastover, man. Listen, you get a kick out of this.
It makes sense. The last name Jacobs. Yeah.
Listen, man. What's my guy's name from out there? Oh my gosh, with Street Side. What's my man from out there? Oh my gosh,
Misfit.
Yes, I'm at a funeral for my great aunt.
Oh yeah.
I see Misfit. I dap him up. He said, "Man, what's going on?" So what's going on? He looked at me. He said, "What you doing here?" I said, "Nigga, what you doing here?" We start laughing, right? And somehow, some way, I think we're cousins somehow. I think my great aunt that passed away, I think he said that her first husband was his uncle or something like that.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But that's what ends up happening, right? Is that I had this joke that I said that you talk about country. Country is this. I don't know the names of my relatives until I see the funeral program, right? Because we call her Aunt Buddy, and I look at right.
I got you.
Yeah, Aunt Skeeter.
I got
right?
you.
Listen, like Uncle Butch, and I'm like, I see the funeral program. I'm like, who is this? Right? So that's something real country. Listen, my mama's, my granny's sisters. We had Buddy. We had Skeeter, Tootie. I still don't know Tootie real name, right? But that's what we call them.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
But I digress. But I say that in a sense of come from the background of telling my parents and my family that I'm doing something creatively. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that they weren't supportive. It was because they didn't see anybody making a living doing that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But there might have been a moment in time where they looked at what you were doing, and sort of like you're saying, maybe it was a newspaper article, maybe it was somebody from the community. There was probably this shift where maybe they might not have been convinced that you could make a living out of it, but that pressure was taken off, and they was like, I support you. Do you remember a moment like that happening where something happened community-wise, communication-wise, where they were like, oh, okay, this boy, I trust what you're trying to do right now?
Well, so I don't feel like I feel like there were times where my parents didn't understand what I was doing, but I never felt like they didn't support what I was doing. Mainly because I was thinking about it the other day. It's like because I have friends who, I have peers who were, when we were in middle school, high school, or whatever, their parents so disapproved of them working on music, making music that they would like confiscate equipment,
Oh boy. Yeah.
Or just, say, you're not going to be using up my electricity doing this or whatever, my parents never, my dad was probably the last to kind of like understand what I was doing, but even he never got in my way of, and he allowed me to be in the house, and he kept lights on, what I mean? All that kind of stuff or whatever. And because, if it wasn't anything else, it was constructive, and I was at home working on it,
And you went out in the streets.
I wasn't out in the streets,
gallivanting.
And, once I graduated high school and was kind of like moving around the city a little bit more and, networking and meeting new people, they might have like worried about who I was around and, but no, my parents have always been supportive. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I have a final question. I think you will understand and be interested in this. So I'm born and bred in Colombia, and at some point, we all hit this crossroad when everyone's saying, if you're doing creative stuff, especially if you're doing hip hop music, black culture, black art, there's always this argument of you got to get the hell out of here. You got to go somewhere else to do this. You got to go somewhere else to do that. And I've heard those things for years. And sometimes I felt like, man, maybe I could have gone, I should have gone. Then there's other times where I'm like, my family's here. I have a special needs sibling that really kind of made me want to be here. Or maybe that was an excuse I gave myself. I don't know. But I'm an ambassador to the city. And when I've grown older over the times, I realized that if everyone is saying get out of here, to make a decision to stay is a revolutionary act, right?
Yeah.
If you make a decision to be like, yo, I'm going to be here, not because things are as good as it is in a different city, but because they're not as good as they are in another city. And there's this responsibility that I have where I want to be able to try to make some type of a difference. What do you feel by being here as an artist here, where your talents, I will put your production skills, I will put your work ethic, I will put you as a human being up against anybody from these other areas that might have more people coming out of them. What is it about here that, if you're looking at other people talking about leaving, what does Columbia or South Carolina offer that these other neighborhood places don't offer, that you are happy that you stuck around?
And that's a great question. And just to kind of like go back to, you mentioned, the time where people have very like low self-esteem as far as their location. And that was just never me.
Right.
And there was lots of uncertainty about, okay, like, well, what's going to happen or whatever. but just in my like traveling to other places, the only thing that I kind of like, not really envied or whatever. Well, maybe it was envy or whatever. You know, you go to a big city and there's like these, you know, super cool concerts and music festivals happening or whatever, which is starting to become a thing which has become a thing in Colombia. You know what I mean? So it's like the want for that isn't quite the same like it was back in the day.
Yeah. Because
you can see these folks here. I got to see Ghostface and Sheek Louch. And Rhapsody. And Talib Kweli, at Colicon. I got, you know, this man, and then all of the people that I got to see through Love, Peace, and Hip Hop. Like, and that's here. Like, I got to see Rakim in Colombia at the Senate, and he wasn't that far away from me. You know what I mean? Or just, but then even just from the people being here, like KRS-One was here. He's been here several times throughout the, you know, past, you know, couple decades, but the studio that I work at now, at the Jam Room, like he stayed in town and ended up recording with Master Splinter.
Word him up.
And so I just show up because at that time I lived like pretty close to the Jam Room. So I show up, you know, on the way home from work, and he's there recording. I get to meet him. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have to go out of town for those experiences. But then also, you know, as far as like the networking with other independent artists, you know, I go to other cities, you know, me and DJ Cannon Banyan and DJ Effect and DJ
buddy.
Dice. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
You know, the places that I've gone with them, you know, me and Cannon Banyan drove to a DJ conference in New York. And it was in Manhattan. I forgot the name of the thing, whatever, but like we were looking at their style of networking at this conference and everything, and it was just, it's like we were the only ones that showed up to work. I had my laptop, like there was so much not networking happening, and people just like really just partying really. Yeah. That I had my laptop with me, so I just started making beats like right there in the club. Cannon Banyan, I'm remixing songs, whatever. Cannon Banyan got his laptop. I'm sending him the remixes. He's making a mixtape of the remixes, like right there, like, and same thing with, you know, all these other cities. They got their own struggles or whatever, but like, and their own style of doing things. But me traveling to these other places, you know,
they ain't got nothing on y'all's work ethic.
I mean, I just didn't feel like I was missing anything by living.
Absolutely.
You know, here. You know, I've always loved living here.
Yeah.
You know,
I tell people this when they say, "What do you love most about your family?" I say, "They're mine." Right. That's how I feel about my city, and I think that it's important to have people that make a decision to stay here, right? Because the world is smaller. Like, you ain't gotta move to these places and do the music and do the arts and the culture. You know what I mean? We can travel, but to want to be here and have roots here is really, really important. Anything left you want people to know about how they can find you? You say you over at the Jam Room. Like, you know, anything that you're pushing, promoting. Like, let's flood the people now. What you got?
Oh man, I'm working with a new artist named Kilo Hotel. You can find both of us on Instagram,
and we'll put it in the podcast notes as well.
Okay, but yeah, Kilo Hotel, Flirting with Disaster. It's a EP that I produced. Kind of different from what a lot of folks have heard from me. Most folks, you know, are familiar to the hip hop I produced. This was a whole different situation. This is a little bit of country, a little bit of rock and roll. Definitely has, you know, some hip hop elements in there because it's me, you know. But yeah, Kilo Hotel, Flirting with Disaster, and man, I don't know what the future holds. I got plans, but you know, just stay tuned. You know, I'm gonna surprise myself. I'm gonna surprise y'all also. You know.
Word. Well, listen, man. I'm glad you sat down, and if no one showed you lately, like, we really appreciate the work that you've done here. And a lot of times when we're doing the work and in the middle of it, we don't think what we're doing makes a difference. But like I said, after just saying it in perspective, 20 years, like that's 20 years of people looking up observing and learning from the work that you're doing. So I'm so glad that you're
Much
here, man. I appreciate you
man.
sitting down with me. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is the Preach Jacobs podcast. Get your tickets for the next SoulHAUS Sessions at the Koger Center for the Arts. Go to KogerCenterForTheArts.com or go to all of my socials, all Preach Jacobs. Buy those tickets. The next edition of the SoulHAUS Sessions is October 22nd. The Colacon reunion is going to be fantastic, and we have an announcement to make that day. So please get your tickets. I know the show will sell out. Until next time, peace.
The preceding podcast is solely owned by its host or hosts and is distributed by Big Media LLC. Copyright 2025, all rights reserved.